Deputy Mayor.
Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, just 2 or 3 announcements before we get to the main business. The first one, I had a request from the evening advertiser to do 1 or 2 photographs this evening. They won't be staying long. How are your agreement on that? Thank you very much. Now, before we take the evening, I welcome everybody now. I've got over the announcement about photographs. Thank you. I wish to report, first of all, the death of Mrs. Ellen Garrett, former mayoress of the borough in the municipal year 1984 to 85, and the wife of the late Mr. Harry Garrett, former mayor. Wonderful chap, a truly friendly individual if you met him on the street. Decided to meet him when I was serving. But I met him a number of times at the Leisure Club, and I'll always remember a very polite and a very firm gentleman. I, together with hopefully former mayors of the borough and my wife, will be attending the funeral, which is to be held at the Rourke Parish Church on the 22nd of April at 10:45 a.m. We'll be followed by private committal at Kingsdown Crematorium. The third final announcement is that an application has been received from Mr. Richard Simmons to be called tonight this evening, this meeting of the full council. Now, the meeting of the council is a meeting to deal with the business of the council by its elected members, and as required with debate and vote. I then take this opportune moment to point out that members of the public are entitled to observe proceedings in silence and without any form of comment. If the latter point fails to be observed, except at the time of public questions, of course, having issued 2 warnings, and that warning being ignored, the individual or individuals will be asked to retire. Failing that happening, I will adjourn the meeting and I will ask for help for those people to retire. Now, in order to comply with general orders, I have to put this matter to the vote for a request. Can I take a vote on this? All those in favour? Against? Matter carried. Can I remind, in the interests of public information, Mr. Simmons, can I remind you that your camera points downwards, only photographs or films those people who are actually speaking from the council or are asking a public question. All right? Please, no pointing your camera to members of the public, either downstairs or within the public gallery. Thank you very much. Right, item number 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can confirm the following apologies that we received from councillors Nicky Stool, David Wood, Kevin Small and Steve Wakefield.
Any other?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Barnes.
Communication.
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Right, we'll go on to the minutes. Page is 120.
From my last act, Mr. Mayor,
remind all members at the start of this meeting, they should declare any known interest in any matter to be considered, and also during the meeting, if it becomes apparent that they have interest in the matter being discussed. All matters. Call for Councillor Moore. Right, Rachel. Thank you. Councillor Russell.
I declare an interest on agenda item 8, DPI. I'll be leaving the chamber for that debate.
Thank you. Councillor John Baldwin.
I declare an interest on item number 8. I've signed a piece of paper, and I think the Boris solicitor could be waiting at any moment.
Councillor Grant. Oh, no, not waiting. Just looking down there. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agenda item 8 also, I sit on the Swindon Borough Committee of the Yorkshire Association of Local Councils. Therefore, any parish arguably may have a specific interest in becoming part of that body. So I will review this as we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. President. Thank you. Councillor Ford.
Item 8.
Thank you. Councillor Perry. Councillor Page.
Item 8.
Thank you. Councillor Gray.
Item 8 is parish.
Councillor Walsh.
Item 8 is parish council. Thank you.
Councillor Richard, thank you.
I'm on the parish council and also on the area committee.
Councillor Holland.
Item 8, that I also filled in a formal judgment process.
Thank you. Councillor.
Declare personal interest in item 8 when I signed a dispensation form as a resident.
Councillor Berard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also signed a dispensation on item 8.
Thank you. I too have signed a dispensation, Mr. Mayor.
Item 8 with a dispensation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor, for clarifying.
Item 8 is signed a dispensation form.
That's voting. Councillor Whitehead. Councillor.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I didn't realise that I needed dispensation under item 8 as a resident of Hazelwood Parish, but if I do, I should probably declare an interest.
If I can help, Mr. Mayor, the position is that those members who are simply residents in a parish are not treated as having a personal interest because they have the same interest as everybody else. If they have some interest over and above that, if there's going to be a change in their financial circumstances due to a change in precept or something like that, then it may well be that they may consider it prudent or advisable to seek a disposal of pecuniary interest dispensation, just for sake of prudence. And I can list the one that received after you received the declaration from Councillors Thomas and Graham and Crown.
Councillor Thompson, Crown, received a dispensation. Thank you. Anybody?
And myself, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Jones.
In that case, I can list the dispensation that I've actually received and have signed following consultation with the right chair and standards in the absence of the chair. And that is from Councillor John Ballman, Ray Ballman, Edwards, Friend, Eaton Jones, Enos, Holland, Hurley, Renard, Watts. And if there are any others, I'm happy to sign.
public question time. May I remind members of the public that public questions should be fair, relevant and concise. Public question time is not an opportunity to make speeches or statements. Questions must not deal with confidential, personal or other information which law permits the council to deal with in private. Nor shall any question relate to a specific bank application. Notification of questions have been received from firstly Mrs. Karen Boyd. Mrs. Boyd, would you like to give your address, please?
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. With reference to the supplementary...
It's not working.
It's not working. If I speak really loud, will that work?
Speak really loud.
I'll try that as well, shall I? Okay, with reference to the additional information for agenda item 9D, the 27th of March SICOS meeting to which this document refers ended in confusion as to what had been agreed. There is no record of what was agreed, and there is no record of presentation of minutes for approval by the SICOS committee. The SICOS committee were not in agreement as to where, when or by whom the terms of reference for the review into the opening and closing of schools had been set. There is no reference to written questions submitted by Call Excel or Colin Doubleday. There is also a misleading suggestion that discussion took place on public consultation on the Croft site rather than the lack of any such activity, ditto the choice of site and the traffic implications. There is no reference to the lengthy discussions on apologies to the Croft community or the key point that the report stated that the decision to build a school on Croft had been taken in June 2010 and not at the planning committee in November 2011 as stated by Mr Stephen Taylor. There is no reference to the fact that Mr Taylor had advised the 6th of March SICOS committee to approve the opening and closing schools report without benefit of scrutiny and engagement with the independent reviewers, Mr Carby and Mr Wilkie. As such, I do not believe this additional information is a fair representation of the 27th of March SICOS meeting, which I and many other members of the public attended. My questions, therefore, are as follows. The public were asked to send their questions, many of which Mr Taylor declined to answer at the meeting, to the SICOS committee clerk after the 27th of March meeting, and to my knowledge this was done. Where are those questions? Who wrote this additional information paper? What is its purpose in misrepresenting the 27th of March SICOS meeting, and what role has Mr Taylor played in bringing this unapproved document to Council? How can a paper be presented to Council on a meeting where the minutes have not been presented or approved and which has not been presented to or scrutinised by either Cabinet or scrutiny? Thank you.
Clearly this is a lengthy question requiring a lengthy answer. Deputy Mayor, can you help me with
The chair catches me by surprise, albeit that I did actually chair one of the SICOS meeting as mentioned on that date. Clearly, I looked at the Director of Corporate Law and Governance to advise me that I'm chairing the meetings and was satisfied with the advice I received.
Can we deal with it as a written question, and if we have a supplement, a written reply, and if we have a supplementary question, we'll take that down.
My supplementary question is, that was a lovely answer Councillor Martin gave, but it wasn't to any question that I had asked. Thank you.
Have we got any further questions?
Further questions?
Have you got any further questions?
No, thank you. No, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Colin Doubleday.
Good evening, Colin Doubleday. I'm also representing the Pipers Area Residents Association, of which I'm chair, which is the Residents Association for the area including the Cross School. I've got two questions. One is probably a more succinct adjunct to the question which has just been asked about item 9. As we know, on the March 27th there was a meeting to consider the opening and closing of the schools, a report into which our association, who represent the local residents for Croft, had no opportunity to input evidence. There were so many questions at that meeting, but mine were delayed and had to be answered by email. 3 days ago I was sent a confirmation that my questions were still to be answered and would be so. I'm advised that these questions are missing from supplementary documents I've just looked. On that basis, how can this report be presented to Council as complete and ready for the subject to be swept under the table or kicked into the long grass?
Thank you for your question, sir. I'll endeavour to get an answer for you.
Clearly, some questions on the night had to be answered by written response. As chair of the meeting, I ask the trust that the officers of the council are efficient enough and effective enough to achieve answering the questions asked in writing and responding in writing in time for the report to be completed and known to this council. I have not been notified or told by anybody until the question arose that questions asked on the night or presented to be answered in writing had not been answered. I don't know whether the Director of Corporate Governance can help.
I would only say, Chair, that the answers are in preparation.
You know the answer. Have you
Can I ask a supplementary just on that then? Can I ask then, on that basis, would the whole council be prepared to postpone an answer on that meeting? Because it doesn't sound as though Councillor Martin has actually read my questions, so they may be pertinent to what the final report is.
Just take to the topic. The Committee felt able to make a decision on what was before.
Okay, so that's significantly disappointing on behalf of the hundreds of people which I am representing on behalf of our residents association. Seems a very strange decision. We've not that many horses. Okay, I'll ask my second question. I'm still hearing weekly comments from local residents in Old Town who cannot work out how the school can fit 1,760 pupil journeys a day into tiny residential streets. They want to know if there is a plan to make that work at those numbers, 1,760 journeys per day. Can I ask the prospective new deputy leader, Councillor Matter, who is also a local ward councillor, if there is a detailed plan outlining this level of traffic, and will he be personally apologising to residents for his role in the secret steering group that sanctioned this plan, and then for keeping it secret despite being asked directly about plans for a school over a period of 2 subsequent years after that decision was made?
Councillor Matter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, can I say I'm not the relevant cabinet member to respond to that question. But can I make it absolutely clear that my personal position has always been that I supported the construction of the school. I made that clear that I would come to a decision before the planning application was considered, and I advised you of that position, which I did. We have been working with you as members of Old Town with a number of other initiatives which we are fully in support of, but I cannot withdraw my support for the school that I've already given. I think that's fairly clear. It's something that I've said on many occasions, and I won't withdraw that this evening.
Okay, my supplementary on that then is, as it seems though it wasn't the question I actually asked, was, I asked the question, just to repeat, would there be an apology for the fact that a decision was made which he was involved with, and then he refused to engage with that conversation, and in effect allowed everybody to believe there was no school? So in which case, is it true or not true that after 2009, when the discussion was had in the steering group, that he had several discussions with members of the public, some of which I'm aware of where he was making out that there was going to be no school, and we were being told that it was just a temporary measure?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. can I make it absolutely clear that I never answered the question that there will be no school where there isn't a school. The plan that I understand was laid out at the consultation meeting, which I was not present at, identified a proposed school, so there was no doubt in my mind what the position is. And to suggest that there was a secret steering committee is actually wrong. We as ward members were obviously kept involved and advised by officers what the position was with this particular project, as we would expect to be kept informed about any project within the ward. So I don't think there's an apology needed, and I think the report identifies very clearly that yes, consultation could be improved, and I wouldn't expect any report to suggest anything otherwise, and part of our whole locality working is to improve the way we as a council work, and that's exactly what we will do.
Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, in the spirit of trying to draw a line under this, that there was only 2 decisions of any substance that need to be debated here. One was Cabinet making a decision that there was a need for a school and deciding that it felt the appropriate place for that school was at Croft, and it was only Cabinet that made that decision. And that decision was subject to the planning committee deciding that it was a place for that school, a suitable place for that school to be built. Those were the 2 substantive decisions that were made in public, openly and transparently. And whatever other noise there is around the whole issue, which we are all fully aware of, those are the 2 issues that, frankly, sailed.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps a point, if we're reflecting back on the Cycles meeting tonight, I would say, as chairman of that meeting, the public questions at the Cycles meeting took approximately 40 minutes, much longer than the 15 minutes typically allowed by standing orders. Also, the independent consultants took and answered questions as well. So I honestly believe that the public engagement of that scrutiny meeting was both fulsome and effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Brian Coburn.
Thank you. I would apologise for the late submission of the question, which I'm asking on behalf of a lady who is reliant now because of her son on the 21 bus service, together with others in the locality of Colville. Is there any truth in the rumour that the 21 bus service operated by Thamestown Transport through Colville and Stratton Park is to be withdrawn from the 20th of April in just over a week? If it is true, what is the reason for withdrawing the service, and why has it been no prior consultation or notification? If it is not true, what plans are there for the future of this service?
Thank you very much, Mr. Campbell. There was a contract that was drawn up starting from April last year. My understanding is, I don't know the exact dates, that is about when that 12-month contract comes to an end for that service. I do know that the 21 service, the 7 Stratton arm, because it sort of forms a U-shape, doesn't it? So it comes from Penhill down to the 7 service, goes back up towards Colville. I think there's Colville end, about a third of the passenger levels that the Penhill arm has. So very, very underused. And I think possibly that may be where this agreement originated from. I don't know if you are right, I did come at 4:30 this question. If I can get officers to confirm that that's the case, I'll let you know. And if it's possible, can you leave your details with the clerk? Because there was an item I agreed to come and do a site visit with you on, but I didn't actually have your contact details for the last meeting. So if you can make sure your contact details with the officer, I'll be able to get in touch with you personally. Thank you.
Yes, can I ask a supplementary to that? I've got a further question arose in this room, Chair. As I understand it, the council, and it's a council contract for that 21 plus service, had a consultation on public transport. What is the latest position on that consultation?
What was undertaken was basically an exercise to see if putting a service 21 in, because this was in response to a service being removed. So this was a case of, we got together with Thames Down Transport to see if there's a service that could be put in place. We've got another 12 months to see if a level of patronage could be sustained that justified that service. I think what's happened is people who are using a similar service to get up to Sainsbury's are now actually using the alternative services that are available, which was what was originally forecast. So they're going to e-down into the avenue and are using stagecoach services or the other Thames Down services rather than actually use the 21 service. So I think it has been a full 12-month exercise and step execution in effect for that route. And it does seem that people in Colview are not using it.
I, in fact, use that service fairly regularly myself. And certainly over the period of the last 12 months, there has been an increase in service. In the last week, on at least 2 occasions, the 21 plus service from Stratton Park, before it reached the centre of town, before in fact it reached Drakesway, there were standing passengers there. Can you take that into account before you explain it?
Absolutely. I think the best thing is actually to get some view of the ridership figures, and I'm quite happy if Thames Down are happy to share those with Mr. Joe. But unfortunately, one full bus doesn't make a viable service.
Well, that's the other question which arose since I've been in this room. A piece of paper has been circulated with an amendment to a recommendation from the Community Governance Review. Now, I believe that in fact the wording of that is a direct negative of the recommendation. And therefore, can I ask you a rule whether in fact this is a true amendment, understanding orders?
What item was it? You're referring to?
The piece of paper, alternate amendment to minute 115 and minute 28 in brackets 12.
This is an amendment to part of the, as far as I can see.
Do you understand that, Cool?
That's your ruling, I've got to sign that.
We've exceeded the 15 minutes of question time. I'm asking council whether we wish to proceed with more questions or whether we stop it. All those in favour of continuing?
I've had my hand up for about...
Yes, ma'am, would you sit down, please? Supporting further questions? Yeah, all right, continue. Mr. Peter Hayes, please.
My question is, where is the Education Department, Mr. Knowles, going to announce a contractor for the youth school on the Catholic college side?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The school at St Joseph's has been working on that in conjunction with St Joseph's College, and they're the ones who are going to appoint the contractor and are working on the design.
but they're leading on it and we're working with it. So I'm afraid I don't have an answer for you, Mr. French, today.
Any supplementary, Mr. French?
No.
Thank you. The lady in the gallery there, could you give her your name? You indicated you had one question.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I've got two, but they're very brief.
Could I have your name and address, please?
Pardon?
Your name and address.
Carol Ben.
Thank you.
My first question is, does this council appreciate that often members of the public who take time out of their busy lives to try and engage, or on occasion to challenge, or on occasion to critique some decisions, do so not in an attempt to make things worse in our town, but to make things better? That's my first question.
Leader, please.
Yes, is the answer to that, but it is about how it's done.
Okay, you're like the next one then. Does the council recognise that the public, like me, who steps up and tries to engage, is not a different species? Some of us are professionals, some of us aren't, some of us are flawed, some of us are perfect. Well, I don't know anyone's perfect, but we're just the same as you, we're not different. The ability to help Swindon reach its potential is not just in the gift of people who have Swindon in their job descriptions or their job titles, but it's in the gift of everybody with Swindon in their postcode. So I just think that my question would be, when things go wrong, if people could actually just put their hands up and go, we're sorry that went wrong, but this went right, don't you think that would make for a better Swindon for the future? Thank you.
Can we present? Leader.
I think I would totally agree with that. I think the issue is it will probably take an effort on all sides to achieve the outcome you're looking for.
Thank you very much, Leader. Right, item 6. As you will all be aware, Councillor Roderick Blue has formally resigned excuse me, from his position as leader of the council. You will see numerous reports attached to the agenda papers which call for nominations for the post of leader of the council. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to rise and move that Councillor David Rivard be appointed leader of Swindon Borough Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to formally second.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations? Councillor Dempsey.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to rise and formally nominate Councillor Jim Grant to be leader of the council.
I rise, Mr. Mayor, second.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? In that case, we will take the vote in alphabetical order. Therefore, Councillor Grant, those in favour?
Can I just ask members for a one hand, please?
Those in favour of Councillor Renner? I hereby announce that Councillor Renner has been appointed leader of the Swindon Borough Council.
huge honour and privilege. I'm aware acutely that we face huge challenges ahead, and I know it's going to be incredibly difficult in the coming 12 months. I will, at annual council, lay out my programme, as is customary for the leader to do so. This evening, though, I will be announcing my proposed cabinet, which will take place from midnight tonight. The portfolios are as follows. I believe it's been tabled, Mr. Mayor. But just to summarise, Cabinet for Finance will be Councillor Russell Holland. Cabinet for Strategic Projects and Transformation, Councillor Mike Gordon. Cabinet for Children's Services, Councillor Fernanda Foley. Cabinet for Customer Support and Corporate Services, Councillor Claire Ellis. Cabinet for Strategic Planning and Sustainability, Councillor Dale Heenan. Cabinet for Public Protection, Housing and Street Smart Delivery, Councillor Richard Hurley. Deputy Leader of the Council, and also Cabinet for Health and Adult Social Care, Councillor Brian Mattock. Cabinet Member for Economy, Regeneration and Culture, Councillor Gary Perkins. Cabinet Member for Highways, Strategic Transport and Leisure, Councillor Keith Williams. That's all I propose to say today, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask Council to note those appointments. Those in favour? Councillor Reynolds,
I move, Mr. Mayor.
I second, Mr. Mayor.
yes, Councillor Peter. Councillor Reynolds, we will vote thanks.
For Councillor Blue. Yes, I rise to move the vote of thanks, and I believe we're going to ask Councillor Wood to